Hello, hello, welcome everybody. I'm Jev, yes, Triple V. The accent, by the way, is purely Kiwi. I read old stories for children, so we keep this a family-friendly channel by having bad word blockers, banning bots, and preventing spam. So that means new followers need to wait a few minutes before they can join in the chat. Since these stories are so old, they're now in the public domain, which means they are free to read for anyone and by anyone. The way many Christmas songs are. The digital are good for that. The physical ones are just all books my family sometimes. I'll even show them to you. By the way, think of them as bedtime stories rather than actual audiobooks. You get benefits of my mistakes, distractions, explanations, and terrible attempts at accents, along with plenty of chat and interruptions as we find out about things in the story. If you need to do work or chores, then that's fine. Just come and lurk. Please adjust your volume to suit. There are captions available if you have to be quiet during this. Be warned, sometimes the captions aren't always that accurate. I am a member of the Codex, an awesome group of reading streamers on Twitch. People from many walks of life who share their love of reading, and you'll find links to the Codex reading team and our Discord server below. A special feature of the Codex Discord is the security channel for those of you who stream or moderate. You'll find lots of practical, useful information to help keep your stream and your community safe. So, hang around and come discover adventure with me. You never know what we'll find.
I went and did the hit the volume bar instead of the unmute. Again, I thought I'd actually train myself out of that. Hi everybody, how are you? Welcome. Great to have you here. Um just been got off a video call with a family member. Being able to catch up with them is really wonderful. One of the things I love about technology is the fact that we can talk to people who are in other countries without it costing the the a small car or a large car, as in a vehicle, your automobile, to pay for the bills. Because in the old days, yeah, you used to have to, I remember, you used to have to phone the telephone exchange and say, I would like to make a call to such and such, and you'd tell them the name of the person and the exchange that they were on, because the person had already written and told you, and then what the number was for that exchange. And they would schedule when your call was going to be, and the toll company would phone you back when they had connected through to say, here is your call, and then you'd have to pay for it afterwards, as in on your phone book, and it was horrendously expensive. And it was not a very clear line. Unlike now, where we can talk via video, or doing this, where I'm talking to as many people as want to turn up. I mean, we could have one person, we could have no people here except for me talking to myself. We could have thousands of people here, or we can have people watching it later on. The technology has come so far. Now, I'm overheating here because summer is doing summer things. I'm going to see if I can find the switch for my little fan that's under my desk. Yes, it's working. I remember one time plugging it in to get it to go, and it wouldn't go. And I realized that the plug board, the USB hub that I was using, had USB 2 and USB 3 sockets on it, and it didn't work when it was on a USB 2 socket, because that doesn't supply power over the data, whereas a USB 3 one does. And it's like, oh yeah, well, that makes a lot more sense. So I've got a little fan going now under my desk. If it's noisy, I'm sorry about that. That's just the way it is. I'll move my microphone down slightly so it's not distracting me. Captions, we'll see what happens. Are you saving up for your loadable shirt? Loadable shirt? I am going to be doing some merch for that at some stage, and I will even be wearing it. We will be rocking the merch. But don't forget to watch that clip. It's hilarious. I think it's hilarious anyway. Yeah, captions, when they decide that they are going to do family-friendly filtering for you. I don't have that turned on. I have tried it once. I tried it while I was live. I turned on language filtering, profanity, and captions just sort of sat there and folded their arms and looked at me and went blah, 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 and no words came up on screen at all. Or they were so far behind. And so I turned the mic off again, the filter. Technology-wise, there's an update for Stream Elements. If you use Stream Elements as a plugin for your OBS, if you are a streamer, it's been available to me for the last 3 streams, and I haven't managed to actually get on my computer tinkering with OBS to, when I'm not streaming, to actually install that and make sure it's all working through properly. Captions thought you were an Australian sailor. Probably. Hence not giving any words that I was speaking. And I do have my calendar here. I did change it because we are now February. It is now the 2nd of February here in New Zealand. I did have this all set up to work properly. Look, a lovely picture of mountains. These are real. These are not fake. These are not AI. They have been edited. The photos are all, every photo you see in print, unless it's somewhere that says that they don't, will have been edited. But usually it's just to even out the light levels and stuff like that. This is Lake Matheson in the South Island, South Westland. Westland is a section of New Zealand landscape that runs this way down the left-hand side. I'm trying to do it back to front. I don't have my camera as a mirror image. Down the left-hand side of the South Island, which is the big bottom half of New Zealand. And the border of it to the east is probably somewhere in the Southern Alps, which is the mountain range in the South Island. So those mountains there That's part of the Southern Alps, and this is originally it's a glacial lake, but because it's surrounded by the southern forest, it's probably a southern New Zealand beech forest. I'm not sure. The beech name is not European beech; it's a New Zealand native tree. I can't remember what its Maori name is. But because it's surrounded by this, it gets these beautiful reflections in it of the Southern Alps, because the trees tend to mean that you don't get a breeze going across it for a lot more of the time than what people would normally expect that to be. I'm just going to see if I can use a couple of pegs to hold that picture up instead of it keeping on turning to January. If I hung it up, it would work better. I've actually got, going to do it without falling in the middle. That's kind of working. There you go. That'll do for now. Unfortunately, those green pegs are not the right sort of green to be wiped out on by my green screen. So I do know that Guriki was getting a lot of stream lag. I don't know if that's still happening now. It wasn't showing up as anything like dropped frames at my end. I'm still streaming at my usual rate. It could be his internet connection. It could be something between my computer and the Twitch ingest server. I don't know. That's just the way life is. Welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. We have an ad that will be starting shortly, so I'm going to carry on chatting. After the ad, we will have our next video clip. The next video tips. So if anybody has not done one and would like to do one, I'm giving an opportunity to those of you who have not yet submitted a tips video. Please feel free to create your own tips video, especially for use here on my channel. Don't forget we have those standard 5 tips in the same sequence, please. My fan is suddenly rattling. It wasn't before. I haven't moved anything. Why did it change? I don't know. Try to keep it under 2 minutes if you possibly can, or if it's got a little bit of a gap in it because there's no talking going on, that can be edited out, but at the moment my computer's not up to it because I'm still on the old potato PC. Yes, so I will give you a quick rundown of what those tips are, and then we will have a tip video a bit later. So first tip is drinks. You need something yummy to drink for the enjoyment. I don't actually have one here with me. No, I do. I do have one here with me. I have Foxton Fizz Cola. So this is a New Zealand brand alternative to Coke and Pepsi and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't have as much of that flavour as what you'd expect. It tastes okay. It's not cold, but I do have it. Tip number 2. Let's go this way. Tip number 1 is drinks. Tip number 2 is hydrate. Make sure you have water handy so that every time I drink water, you drink water, because that's what we do. We sometimes have a drinking game where if certain keywords come up in the story, then everybody tells everybody else and we all take a drink of water, and we see how far we get through our water bottles. When we do have the drinking game running properly, we'll actually have the words up on screen here, the ones that we're listening for. They will be as they are read in the story, not just me talking about it. Currently, we only have the shame bottle. Drink deep of the shame bottle, if necessary. Just because sometimes an author will be shaming something that these days we would consider that would not be appropriate, and we don't even know why it was considered appropriate back in the day. So that's what the shame bottle is for. Sometimes we will have one of our number will actually use the shame command right at the very beginning, because what they're doing is they are testing that the commands are working, because sometimes they don't work. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 2 is hydrate. Tip number 3 is food. Have something to eat handy, snack, meal, whatever, unless you've just eaten or you're not really into eating, that's okay. Personally, I'm not majorly scared of food, so I'm happy to talk about food. Sometimes I ramble on about different New Zealand foods or something I've enjoyed or whatever. I'm looking around me like this because I'm wondering what food I have handy. I finished my little packet of strawberry flavoured Pocky sticks. I will not be eating the cat's snacks. I do have some plain wafer crackers here. Sorry, plain, they have not sponsored me, so they are not having their brand seen on screen. Speak to me, contact me through my contact details down in the panel below if you wish to sponsor me. Yes. So plain wafer style crackers, lovely, crunchy. The texture of food is really important to me. I don't know about you. Is it to you? So that's tip number 3 is food. Tip number 4 is get comfortable, whether that is cooling yourself down, warming yourself up, something to play with or fidget with, a friend to keep you company, lying in a dark room in silence except for listening to what's going on, anything like that, whatever works for you. But you've got to always keep in mind, any of these rules, these tips are you do you. In other words, appropriate for who you are and where you are. Okay? It's always your call as to what that is, not mine. I'm not responsible for who you are and where you are. Only you are. So that's tip number 4 is comfy. Tip number 5 is, we have 6 tips. Tip number 5 is something to write with and something to write on. Often, especially with old books, I will talk about something that you want to find out something more about, or you will remember something. Write it down and then you can come back to it. You don't have to lose what's going on in the story. And tip number 6 is join in. And the reason I went through all of those is so you can make your own tip video. And hopefully you guys will see the captions here, even if you can't hear me at some stage. I don't know. Whatever. Do your own tip video for us. That would be wonderful. I'd love that. You can even contact me through that contact email down below for business purposes if you need to, if you are not in the Discord server. If you are in the Discord server, yay! And if you are not yet but would like to, here is the link. And you will need to apply to join the Discord server. It's a very quiet one. It's not going to give you lots of notifications. You will need to answer some questions and then I will have a look at what your answers are. I may ask you some more questions myself, or one of my moderation team may ask you before they authorize you. And if we feel that you are not a good fit because you're not actually here for this community, you are here because you are trying to harvest people from our member list to sell as a mailing list, you will be declined and kicked if you have actually got past the acceptance stage. If we find anyone has been messaging people inappropriately and the only place they have in common is my Discord server, that person will be kicked and banned. Yes. And if you message anyone inappropriately and they don't like it, they will be reporting you to Discord. Yes, we do those things. And everybody, if anything like that ever happens to you, first of all, let the owners or the moderators of the Discord server that you are in know that someone has approached you in a way that is not appropriate. Turn off your DMs available for members of this server, whatever server it is that you're on, if you find that you are getting a lot of that, unless you make a lot of fun of that sort of thing. If you enjoy dealing with that, that's fine. But if you don't, then every server you are part of, you have the right to turn off message requests and friend requests for that server. Use it. There are tools in place. Use them. Do not click on any links from people you don't know in Discord. There is some nasty, nasty stuff going around that is destroying people's computers. Via that, if you know a person and they send you a link, they better have been talking to you about the link that they were going to send you well before the same message that has the link in it. Otherwise, you ain't going to click on that because you do not want to go and kill your computer and pass on that horrible virus or whatever it's going to be this time to any of your friends and acquaintances and anyone else you know that you are connected to via your computer. And you are authorized to do these things by me because I have said do not do it. Do not click on these things. You alone are responsible for your digital health, and that includes of your computer and your connections to other people. Please look after them. So let's have for fun instead. Let's have a tip video, shall we? Who are we going to get today? Is it going to be raccoons? Is it going to be totally not goriki? Is it going to be Void Android? I don't know. Let's have a look.
Hello, my name is Raccoon Z. In Z. That's right. 3 C's and 3 O's. Ha. So, welcome to the stream. We have many tips for you to help enjoy the stream. Number 1. Have a drink. I like water. As soon as my human helps me out here. So, another part of that is when I hydrate, when I take a drink, you do too. You can indicate that you've done so by giving a thumbs up or use the water bottle emoji down in chat. Number 3, sure, why not? Food or snacks? I don't have any right now, but you eat whatever you'd like to eat. Maybe it's a whole meal, maybe it's a snack, I don't know. You do you. Number 4, get comfy. You can wrap up in something. Thanks, human. That's more like it. Grab a pillow, maybe you've got a fidget toy you can play with. But do anything you like to be comfy. You could even have, I don't know, maybe your favorite human will give you scritches. Hey, human. That's right. Give me scritches. Yeah, that's right there. Yeah. No, don't touch the floof. Next, we have number 5, something to write with or write on. Hey, I can't reach the pad. There you go. And I need something to write on. I just said something to write. Oh wait, that's something to write on. I need something to write with. Okay. Okay, so I don't have opposable thumbs, but you do. Write memos down. You might need to remember something. Maybe not right now, but maybe after the stream. Number 6. Get involved. Join in chat. Chat in chat. Use commands. Play bingo because, that lady says some pretty crazy things from time to time. Make clips. You can even have them featured. Maybe we can see your clips someday. Spin the pages, which are like right down there somewhere. They look like a book or something. The thing down there with a number under chat. And just do whatever you can to enjoy chat. Thanks for watching.
Right, and I'm back, and thank you, Void Android, and hi, good to see you, Voidy. It's lovely to have you here. No, that's not going to work. I was trying to select and copy all of the text of the current book that we're about to read, which is Jack and Jill, A Village Story, by Louisa May Alcott, so I could plug it into the word usage counter to find out what words we are going to use for our drinking game today. So that's not happening. Sorry for the not getting really organized today sort of events that are happening, because I had a lovely 3 or 4 hour video call with a family member overseas. We get to talk probably, we end up talking probably once a month. Yes, I've swapped my water bottle that says water for now. And that was lovely, catching up on all sorts of things. We have a bit of a chat together as a family. That's my daughter. Her brother is still living at home with us because fatigue issues and things like that. You know him as PJ or Coffee Boy. And also her dad, my husband. And so we were having a bit of a good catch up, which is wonderful because she's in winter at the moment in the Netherlands and it is bloomin' cold. although she says it's not as bad as cold over here can be. And I think it's because houses are built for it, public transport is built for it, and it's not as humid because of how cold it gets, which makes sense. So having a lovely catch up that way, and then when others had to go off and do things, she and I carry on chatting. She was even talking about different books she's been reading. She's been thoroughly enjoying getting back into reading, various other projects she's got on, all sorts of stuff. So it's been really, really wonderful catching up, and neither of us want to cut it off too soon. But literally in the last 30 seconds before I went live on camera, we were still talking. Which does mean I was getting things like titles changed and other bits and pieces. Yes, thank you, Guriki, for mentioning about the book title on screen. I did manage to get this one here done for the book cover. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to actually get a white outline on it, just because that involves me doing it as a photo edit, and I didn't have the capacity to do that right at the time. Nor was I able to do the word count thing. So yes, I'm making excuses, and I think they're very valid excuses. And I have not had any lunch. Mind you, I haven't had any breakfast either, and that's actually not that uncommon these days. So how are you? How have you been? What have you been up to? Is it wonderful where you are at the moment? Are you having lots of fun? Are you having weather that you enjoy, whether it's cold or warm, wet or dry, snow, or whatever else happens with weather that's the extreme of that? Dry, I guess. Have you been having anything like that going on for you where you live? Are you enjoying it at the moment or not? I hope you're not having power outages and stuck on a phone battery that's going flat, and you're trying to entertain yourself by distraction here. I hope that if you are, I hope we provide enough distraction. Anyway, so what we're going to do today is we're going to start reading Jack and Jill: A Vintage Story. Now, I have said before that the Andrew Lang Blue Fairy book is long. He retells a whole bunch of different fairy tales from various sources. Some are Scandinavian, some are German, French. I don't know that he's got any English ones, because he was working from printed copies of these stories, not from oral tellings of the stories, and then rewording them, abridging them for children's listening, which the concept of what was okay for children back in the 1880s is quite different to what is acceptable for children these days. But yeah, if you're happy with that sort of thing, come on in. We listen to all sorts of stories. Well, you guys listen, I read. Louisa May Alcott, famous for Little Women and the series of books associated with it. I'm just going to read to you from the Wikipedia page about this one. That's the easiest way to do it. Hang on, I will actually change the page setup here so I can see it more easily. Did you know that in some browsers you can have an easy read mode, which actually helps to make something easier to read, I guess. It cuts out the junk around the side on the pages, and it simplifies backgrounds. So that's cool. So I'm just going to read the first part of this little bit, and then you can look up the rest yourself. Jack and Jill: A Village Story by Louisa May Alcott is a children's book that was originally serialized in the St. Nicholas magazine of December 1879 to October 1880 and belongs to the Little Women series. I don't know how many people who've read the series of books, the Little Women series of books, have actually read this one, because I don't know that it's always actually mentioned as part of the series, but it's set in that world. The novel, parts of it were written during the death of May Nairica. Is that a real person? No, that's a relative of Louisa May Alcott. It may have been a daughter of hers. I don't know. It may have been a sister. It might have been her mother, Abigail May Alcott Nairica, Niereker. Sorry, I'm pronouncing it the way I would with a European pronunciation. The novel, so that's timeline-wise, that was when it was happening. The novel takes place in the fictionalized New England town of Harmony Village. Jack and Jill is the story of two friends named Jack and Janie, and tells of the aftermath of a serious sledding accident. No, I am not going to say spoilers because this book has been out long enough that if you don't want spoilers, you will not be listening to anyone read it aloud to you. You'll be reading it for yourself. After publication, the novel received reviews comparing it to Little Women and praising its portrayal of reality, while other reviews criticized its romance. So I don't know where the story's going to go. Later parts of the book were adapted into a Christmas play. Authors and professors analysing it emphasise her, Louisa May Alcott's portrayals of gender, disability and education. So that actually says there's a hang of a lot going on in this story. Or we're reading a lot into it. I'm not quite sure which one. It could be either, actually. Generally speaking, when someone is a really famous author in a particular niche and from long ago, there will be a lot of analysis of the different things that they have written because so many people have idolized them since they wrote. It's just one of the facts of the literary world. One of the things that me and daughter were talking about earlier on today was books and literature and all that sort of stuff. So I know that there are books that are classics that people think are wonderful or that you ought to read. I also know from having read a bunch of them that a lot of them are just dead boring. And why is this important? Personally. So yeah, my attitude towards reading is if you enjoy reading it, read it. And if you don't enjoy reading it, then stop and get rid of it, unless you have to do it for schoolwork or college or university or something else like that. If there is a requirement for you to do it for something, do it. But if it's to add to your reading list so you can give yourself a little badge, I've read all the classics, stop. Nobody's interested. If you go round doing that, they're just going to think you're a pretentious twat. Okay? Yes, I know I said that with the wrong accent on it because I'm saying it with a posh English accent, not a normal people's English accent. And no, it's not a normal word that's used these days in polite society. But yeah, you're a pretentious idiot. So stop. Nobody needs that. Right, there you go. Let's get on with this story. I don't know where it's going to take us. Can you tell? And yes, there's a bird that's up on the chimney outside, and you can hear him every now and then. That's a myna. MYNAH, originally brought into New Zealand from India to eat ticks, which are a blood-sucking insect, which just happens to be around in lots of places, on cattle before the days of using various parasite and insect treatments to stop them getting that. So it used to be done manually by allowing animals to do it, like other birds and things. But yeah, they're a problem, those birds in New Zealand. Not because they go after ticks, because they don't. They go after anything else, like baby birds that aren't their own. Right, Jack and Jill. That was all depressing, wasn't it? Let's ignore that and get on with the book. Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill went up the hill to coast with fun and laughter, coasting being sledding. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. And that is your epigraph. It's the one that's at the beginning of the chapter, I think. That's your epigraph. I haven't heard that second line before. The version I grew up with was Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. And this one it says, to coast with fun and laughter. Okay. Chapter 1, the catastrophe. Clear the Lula. What's a Lulla? I think I seem to remember that both Louisa May Alcott and L.M. Montgomery used a lot of, I'm going to call them dialectic words for the region over in the east coast of the States and also Canada that they were living in. Each of them are using words that possibly were even slang at the time. I don't know. We'll carry on. Clear the Lula was the general cry on a bright December afternoon when all the boys and girls of Harmony Village were out enjoying the first good snow of the season. I should have been reading this before Christmas for you guys in North America. Up and down 3 long coasts they went, as fast as legs and sleds could carry them. One smooth path led into the meadow, and here the little folk congregated. One swept across the pond where skaters were darting about like water bugs, and the third, from the very top of the steep hill, ended abruptly at a rail fence on the high bank above the road. That doesn't sound like a good stop, does it? Ended abruptly at a rail fence on the high bank above the road. There was a group of lads and lasses sitting or leaning on this fence to rest after an exciting race, and as they reposed, they amused themselves with criticising their mates, still absorbed in this most delightful out-of-door sports. Here comes Frank Minot. Minot, I'm just going to say, that'll do. Looking as solemn as a judge, cried one, as a tall fellow of 16 spun by with a set look about the mouth and a keen sparkle of the eyes fixed on the distant goal with a do-or-die expression. Here's a Molly Lou and a little boo, sang out another. Can somebody look up these things? They're weird. And down came a girl with flying hair carrying a small boy behind her. Here's Molly Lou, not here's Molly Lou and little boo. That makes more sense. Sang out another, and down came a girl with flying hair carrying a small boy behind her, so fat that his short legs stuck out from the sides and his round face looked over her shoulder like a full moon. There's Gus Burton, doesn't he go it? And such a very long boy whizzed by that it looked almost as if his heels were at the top of the hill while his head was at the bottom. So he's going head first down the hill, unlike their Molly Lou and little boo, which sounded like they were sitting up. Hurrah for Ed Devlin! And a general shout greeted a sweet-faced lad with a laugh on his lips, a fine colour on his brown cheek, and a gay word for every girl he passed. Laura and Lottie kept to the safe coast into the meadow, and Molly Lou is the only girl that dares to try this long one to the pond. I wouldn't for the world. The ice can't be strong yet, though. It's cold enough to freeze one's nose off. And a timid damsel who sat hugging a post and screaming whenever a mischievous lad shook the fence. So she's sitting on the fence but holding on to it so she doesn't fall off, and she's feeling a bit precarious. No, she isn't. Here's Jack and Jill going like fury. Clear the track for Jolly Jack, sang the boys, who had rhymes and nicknames for nearly everyone. That's why they're probably talking about Jill, because what we were introduced to was a girl by another name. Not in the book, in the Wikipedia. Down came a gay red sled bearing a boy who seemed all smile and sunshine. So white were his teeth, so golden was his hair, so bright and happy his whole air. Anyone getting a sense of dread? Behind him clung a little gypsy of a girl with black eyes and hair, cheeks as red as her hood, and a face full of fun and sparkle as she waved Jack's blue tippet like a banner with one hand and held on with the other, tippet being a scarf. In the old days, a tippet was a fur collar-style scarf. Jill goes wherever Jack does, and he lets her. He's such a good-natured chap, he can't say no. To a girl, slyly added one of the boys, who had wished to borrow this red sled and had been politely refused because Jill wanted it. He's the nicest boy in the world, for he never gets mad, said the timid young lady, recalling the many times Jack had shielded her from the terrors which beset her path to school in the shape of cows, dogs, and boys who made faces and called her Fraidy Cat. He doesn't dare to get mad with Jill, for she'd take his head off in 2 minutes if he did, growled Joe Flint, still smarting from the rebuke Jill had given him for robbing the little ones of their safe coast because he fancied it. She was defending the little ones and he was being selfish. She wouldn't. She's a dear. You needn't sniff at her because she's poor. She's ever so much brighter than you are, or she wouldn't always be at the head of your class, old Joe, cried the girls, standing by their friend with an unanimity which proved what a favourite she was. Joe subsided with a scornful curl to his nose. What's a scornful curl to your nose? Isn't that meant to you? I don't know. With a scornful curl to his nose as its chilly state permitted, and Mary Grant introduced a subject of general interest by asking abruptly, "Who's going to the candy scrape tonight?" Now, it's the name Mary here is written Merry, not Mary. I don't know if that's a typo. Who's going to the candy scrape tonight? All of us. Frank invited the whole set, and we shall have a tip-top time. We always do at the Minnots, cried Sue, the timid trembler. Jack said there was a barrel of molasses in the house, and so there'd be enough for all to eat and some to carry away. Now, kids, any of you read any of the Little House books by Laura Ingalls Wilder? You might remember them doing sugaring, and also in Farmer Boy when they were making taffy. There are some things that were commonly done in wintertime or late winter, early spring. So I know that sugaring, where you are gathering the sap from maple trees to boil down to maple syrup or maple candy, is done when the sap starts to rise in the maple trees, which is it's spring, but it's very, very, very early, because it's early enough that that's what gets the trees putting out their leaf buds. So often there's still snow around, but the air isn't quite as cold. So technically winter, spring, not sure. And the reason I know all this is because one of the descriptions about it, I mean, I may have seen it happening when I was over in Canada as a really young kid, not an infant, but not very old. I don't remember. It's so long ago. I don't know which is memories and which is from books. But one of the things they talk about is when they are sugaring, which is when they're boiling down the sap to make it thicker, because it's very, very runny and you don't have much strength of flavour to it. So you boil it down so you've got a lot more strength of flavour to it. The sweetness is stronger because you're taking out the excess water. And one of the things they do is some of it they will boil so it's really thick, and then they'll pour it onto snow and it sets really quickly. So that means there's still snow around because they weren't able to make snow back then. Yeah. And they will use that as maple candy. And sometimes it's a bit chewy and sometimes it's more hard, depending on how much it's been boiled. So yeah, that's the time of year where you've still got snow or maybe not, that the sugaring happens. And I don't know if that's what they were talking about when they're talking about the candy scrape, but this is definitely snowy weather. Anyway, where do we get to? Jack said there was a barrel of molasses in the house, and so that molasses is part of the sugar processing. Not maple sugar, but normal sugar, usually from cane, but it can be from beet, where they're processing it to thicken it up before they start crystallizing. Molasses is part of the process. Jack said there was a barrel of, and also used sometimes as a supplement in winter for animal feed, as an extra, because there's a lot of different minerals in molasses. Jack said there was a barrel of molasses in the house, so there would be enough for all to eat and some to carry away. They know how to do things handsomely, and the speaker licked his lips as if already tasting the feast in store for him. Mrs. Minot is a mother worth having, said Molly Lou, coming up with Boo on the sled, and she knew what it was to need a mother, for she had none, and tried to care for her little brother with maternal love and patience. She's just as sweet as she can be, declared Mary enthusiastically, especially when she has a candy scrape, said Joe, trying to be amiable lest he should be left out of the party, whereat they all laughed and went gaily away for a farewell frolic as the sun was setting and the keen wind nipped fingers and toes as well as noses. Down they went, one after another, on the various coasts. Solemn Frank, Long Gus, Gallant Ed, Flyaway Molly Lou, pretty Laura and Lottie, grumpy Joe, sweet-faced Mary with Sue shrieking wildly behind her, gay Jack and gypsy Jill, always together, one and all bubbling over with the innocent jollity born of healthful exercise. People passing in the road below looked up and smiled involuntarily as the red-cheeked lads and lasses filling the frosty air with peals of laughter and cries of triumph as they flew by in every conceivable attitude, for the fun was at its height now, and the oldest and gravest observers felt a glow of pleasure as they looked, remembering their own young days. "Jack, take me down that coast. Joe said I wouldn't dare to do it, so I must," commanded Jill as they paused for breath after the long trudge uphill. Jill, of course, was not her real name, but had been given because of her friendship with Jack, who so admired Janie Peck's spirit and fun. P-E-C-Q. Sounds French. So I'm guessing that Janie is her actual name, but her nickname is Jill. "I guess I won't. It's very bumpy and ends in a big drift, not half so nice as this one. Hop on and we'll have a good spin across the pond," said Jack and we'll have a good spin across the pond. And Jack brought Thunderbolt round with a skillful swing and an engaging air that would have won obedience from anybody but willful Jill. Thunderbolt being his sled. "It's very nice, but I won't be told I won't dare by any boy in the world. If you're afraid, I'll go alone." And before he could speak, she had snatched the rope from his hand, thrown herself upon the sled, and was off helter-skelter down the most dangerous coast on the hillside. She did not get far, however, for starting in a hurry, she did not guide her steed with care, and the red charger landed her in the snow halfway down, where she lay laughing till Jack came to pick her up. "If you will go, I'll take you down all right. I'm not afraid, for I've done it a dozen times with the other fellows, but we gave it up because it's short and bad," he said, still good-natured, though a little hurt at the charge of cowardice, for Jack was as brave as a little lion, and with the best sort of bravery, the courage to do right. "So it is, but I must do it a few times, or Joe will plague me and spoil my fun tonight," answered Jill, shaking her skirts and rubbing her blue hands wet and cold with the snow. "Here, put these on. I never use them. Keep them if they fit. I only carry them to please Mother." And Jack pulled out a pair of red mittens with the air of a boy used to giving away. "They're lovely warm and they do fit. Must be too small for your paws, so I'll knit you a new pair for Christmas and make you wear them too," said Jill, putting on the mittens with a nod of thanks and ending her speech with a stamp of her rubber boots to enforce her threat. Jack laughed, and up they trudged to the spot whence the three coasts diverged. "Now, which will you have?" he asked, with a warning look in the honest blue eyes which often unconsciously controlled naughty Jill against her will. He probably has no idea that what he's saying with his eyes is where she will take the final say from. "That one!" and the red mitten pointed firmly to the perilous path just tried. "You will do it?" "I will. Come on then and hold tight. Now I wonder if the boys have done it when there's been more than one person on a sled, because a sled moves differently and it moves faster if you're going downhill on a slick surface when there's more weight on it, i.e. more people. "Come on then and hold tight." Jack's smile was gone now, and he waited without a word while Jill tucked herself up, then took his place in front, and off they went on the brief, breathless trip straight into the drift by the fence below. "I don't see anything very awful in that. Come up and have another. Joe's watching us, and I'd like to show him that we aren't afraid of anything," said Jill, with a defiant glance at a distant boy who had paused to watch the descent. "It's a regular go-bang, if that's what you like," answered Jack as they ploughed their way up again. Go-bang, I think, as in it's start and it's all done. It's really quick. I don't know. "It is. You boys think girls like little mean coasts without any fun or danger in them, as if we couldn't be brave and strong as well as you. Give me 3 go-bangs and then we'll stop. My tumble doesn't count, so give me 2 more and then I'll be good." Jill took her seat as she spoke and looked up with such a rosy, pleading face that Jack gave in at once, and down they went again, raising a cloud of glittering snow dust as they reined up in fine style with their feet on the fence. It's just splendid. Now one more, cried Jill, excited by the cheers of a sleighing party passing below, driving along the road in a sleigh rather than sledding down a hill. Proud of his skill, Jack marched back, resolved to make the third go the crowning achievement. Oh dear. Foreshadowing. No, anticipation. We haven't had anything that specifically implies a problem, so that's not foreshadowing. Proud of his skill, Jack marched back, resolved to make the third go the crowning achievement of the afternoon, while Jill pranced after him as lightly as if the big boots were the famous seven-legged ones, and chattering about the candy scrape and whether there would be nuts or not. So full were they of this important question that they piled on haphazard and started off, still talking so busily that Jill forgot to hold tight and Jack to steer carefully. Now we've got foreshadowing. Alas for the candy scrape that never was to be. Alas for poor Thunderbolt blindly setting forth on the last trip he ever made. And oh, alas for Jack and Jill, who wilfully chose the wrong road and ended their fun for the winter. No one knew how it happened, but instead of landing in the drift or at the fence, there was a great crash against the bars, a dreadful plunge off the steep bank, a sudden scattering of girl, boy, sled, fence, earth and snow all about the road, 2 cries, and then silence. I knew they'd do it, and standing on the post where he was perched, Joe waved his arms and shouted, "Smash up! Smash up! Run! Run!" like a raven croaking over a battlefield when the fight was done. Down rushed boys and girls, ready to laugh or cry as the case might be, for accidents will happen on the best regulated coasting grounds. They found Jack sitting up looking about him with a queer, dazed expression, while an ugly cut on the forehead was bleeding in a way which sobered the boys and frightened the girls half out of their wits. "He's killed! He's killed!" wailed Sue, hiding her face and beginning to cry. "He's sitting up. He sat himself up. I don't think he's dead yet." "No, I'm not. I'll be all right when I get my breath. Where's Jill?" asked Jack stoutly, though still too giddy to see straight. The group about him opened, and his comrade in misfortune was discovered lying quietly in the snow, with all the pretty colour shocked out of her face by the fall, and winking rapidly as if half stunned. But no wounds appeared, and when asked if she was dead, she answered in a vague sort of way, "I guess not. Is Jack hit?" "Broken his head," croaked Joe, stepping aside, that she might behold the fallen hero vainly trying to look calm and cheerful, with red drops running down his cheek and a lump on his forehead. Jill shut her eyes and waved the girls away, saying faintly, "Never mind me, go and see to him." Now, has anyone here done a first aid course? In a first aid course, you don't go to the noisy person, you don't go to the person who has really big, obvious injuries. Blood everywhere and stuff like that. Unless, of course, there's arterial spray. You actually check up on the ones who are the quiet, silent ones, because often there is a deeper injury. And I think that might be happening here. "Never mind me, go and see to him." "Don't, I'm all right." And Jack tried to get up in order to prove that headers off a bank were mere trifles to him, but at the first movement of the left leg, he uttered a sharp cry of pain and would have fallen if Gus had not caught and gently laid him down. "What is it, old chap?" asked Frank, kneeling beside him, really alarmed now, the hurts seeming worse than mere bumps, which were common affairs among baseball players and not worth much notice. "I lit on my head, but I guess I've broken my leg. Don't frighten, Mother." And Jack held fast to Frank's arm as he looked into the anxious face bent over him. For though the elder tyrannized over the younger, the brothers loved one another dearly. So Frank and Jack are brothers, obviously. "Lift his head, Frank, while I tie my handkerchief round to stop the bleeding," said a quiet voice, as Ed Devlin laid a handful of soft snow on the wound. That's to chill it and to get it to start clotting. Yes. and Jack's face brightened as he turned to thank the big boy who never was rough with the small ones. "Better get him right home," advised Gus, who stood by looking on with his little sisters Laura and Lottie clinging to him. "Take Jill too, for it's my opinion she's broken her back." "She can't stir one bit," announced Molly Lou, with a droll air of triumph, as if rather pleased than otherwise to have her patient hurt the worse, for Jack's wound was very effective, and Molly had a taste for the tragic. Oh dear. If they carry her home and she's broken her back, she's going to be paralysed for life. Spinal cord injury. This cheerful statement was greeted with a wail from Susan and howls from Boo, who had earned that name from the ease with which, on all occasions, he could burst into a dismal roar without shedding a tear, and stop as suddenly as he began. "Oh, I am so sorry. It was my fault. I shouldn't have let her do it," said Jack distressfully. "It was all my fault. I made him. If I'd broken every bone I've got, it would serve me right. Don't help me, anybody. I'm a wicked thing. And I deserve to lie here and freeze and starve and die," cried Jill, piling up punishments in her remorseful anguish of mind and body. She's feeling guilty for making them go down that run. "But we want to help you, and we can settle about blame by and by," whispered Mary with a kiss, for she adored dashing Jill and never would own that she did wrong. "Here come the wood sleds, just in time. I'll cut away and tell one of them to hurry up." And freeing himself from his sisters, Gus went off at a great pace, proving that the long legs carried a sensible head as well as heart. See, developer says, "If I'd broken everybody in my bone I've got, it would serve me right. Don't help me, anybody, LOL. Yeah, definitely. She's feeling, She's just lying there. There's no howling going on, nothing. So, yeah, she could have broken her back. Gus went off at a great pace, proving that the long legs carried a sensible head as well as a kind heart. And by the way, hi, Ceddy. As the first sled approached, an air of relief pervaded the agitated party, for it was driven by Mr. Grant, a big benevolent-looking farmer who surveyed the scene with the sympathetic interest of a man and a father. "Had a little accident, have you? Well, that's a pretty likely place for a spill. Tried it once myself and broke the bridge of my nose," he said, tapping that massive feature with a laugh which showed that 50 years of farming had not taken all the boy out of him. "Now then, let's see about this little chore, and lively too, for it's late and these parties ought to be housed," he added, throwing down his whip, pushing back his cap and nodding at the wounded with a reassuring smile. "Jill first, please," said Ed, the gentle squire of dames, spreading his overcoat on the sled as eagerly as ever Raleigh laid down his velvet cloak for a queen to walk upon. Now, that reference is to Queen Elizabeth I and Sir Walter Raleigh in, I think it's urban legend. He laid his cloak over a puddle so the queen could walk across and not get her feet wet. It sounds to me like urban legend. But the readers at the time would have learnt this as part of their school history lessons, hence the reference here. "All right, just lay easy, my dear, and I won't hurt you a mite if I can help it." Careful as Mr. Grant was, Jill could have screamed with pain as he lifted her, but she set her lips and bore it with the courage of a little Indian. I didn't know that little Indians were meant to be particularly courageous, but apparently they were. Maybe it comes with them being Indians. This is a really weird cultural reference in this story, but old books, hey. For all the lads were looking on, and Jill was proud to show that a girl could bear as much as a boy. She hid her face in the coat as soon as she was settled, to hide the tears that would come, and by the time Jack was placed beside her, she had quite a little cistern of salt water stored up in Ed's coat pocket. She's been crying a fair bit. Nobody really writes like Alcott anymore. The prose talent is rare. Yes, it is indeed. One of the other ones I really like is from a similar era, and that's L.M. Montgomery, who wrote the Anne books. Then the mournful processions. I'm just going to Star Matsu would like to remind you it's a good time to hydrate. We shall do that in just a moment. I'm just going to finish this. Hi, Shu. Great to have you here too. I'm just going to finish this. We have one paragraph. Then the mournful procession set forth, Mr. Grant driving the oxen, the girls clustering about the interesting invalids on the sled, while the boys came behind like a guard of honour, leaving the hill deserted by all but Joe, who had returned to hover about the fatal fence, and poor Thunderbolt, split asunder, lying on the bank to mark the spot where the great catastrophe occurred, Thunderbolt being the sled that they were on. Right, we are going to hydrate, everybody. Here we go. We have 35 seconds to hydrate in before you're in ads. Hydrating. Put it in the chat that you've hydrated. It's not just me, it's you guys too. Okay? Waiting to see those chat confirmations come through that you're hydrating. Right. Goody here's affirming Shu. She is an iridescent rainbow, and CD has said that they are hydrated. Excellent. Wonderful. By the way, if you follow me, you can use the hydration emote. There's a water bottle there if you ever want to, like the one that Goriki just used. That one is my earlier version of water bottle, actually. I was going to say it's this, but it's not this at all. It's one which I don't use because it makes a lot of noise and it leaks air in around the straw, so it doesn't get there very quickly. And ads, yes. And Shu says that Goriki is a glorious butterfly. Oh, it's Goriki. Nothing edible this time, and nothing sci-fi oriented either. Unless your butterfly is a space butterfly, Goriki. And I'm saying this because I know he can hear me. Right. And I'm actually, before we go further, I'm going to write down the title of the book and that I need to do the keywords for it. A space butterfly. Right. I keep saying that word, don't I? Jack and Jill. Keywords. This is why we have paper and pencil or pen, something to write with and something to write on. Tip number 5. We'll carry on. We are reading chapter 2, Two Penitents. I like the fact that this book has chapter numbers and names, but I will check. Yes! And the table of contents also does. Makes it so easy. Sometimes I remember a chapter number, sometimes I'll remember a chapter name. Some people don't like having chapter names because they feel that it spoils the story. You know, it's been spoiled, spoiler alert sort of thing. But it's not my problem. That's their problem. I find that a well-chosen chapter title leaves you guessing. And when you get to the end of the chapter, if you are not itching to keep reading, you will and pause and look at the chapter title, then think back over the chapter. You can see the author's connection, why they've called it that, but it's not necessarily spoiled the thing for you, because sometimes it's a bit of a red herring. Chapter 2, Two Penitents. Jack and Jill never cared to say much about the night which followed the first ghosting party of the season, for it was the saddest and the hardest of their short lives had ever known. Jack suffered most in body, for in the setting of the broken leg was such a painful job that it wrung several sharp cries from him and made Frank, who helped his older brother, quite weak and white with sympathy when it was over. The wounded head ached dreadfully, and the poor boy felt as if bruised all over, for he had the worst of the fall, being on the front of the sled. Dr. Whiting, or Dr. Whitting, I'm going to say Whiting, spoke cheerfully of the case and made so light of broken legs that Jack innocently asked if he should not be up in a week or so. Well, no, it usually takes 21 days for bones to knit, and young ones make quick work of it, answered the doctor with a last scientific tuck to the various bandages, which made Jack feel like a hapless chicken trussed for the spit. 21 days, 3 whole weeks in bed? I shouldn't call that quick work, groaned the dismayed patient, whose experience of illness had been limited. It's a 40 days job, young man, and you must make up your mind to bear it like a hero. Starting to heal, 21 days, not finished. We will do our best, but next time look before you leap and save your bones. Good night, you'll feel better in the morning. No jigs, remember. And off went the busy doctor for another look at Jill, who'd been ordered to bed and left to rest till the other case was attended to. Anyone would have thought Jack's plight much the worst, but the doctor looked more sober over Jill's hurt back than the boy's compound fractures, and the poor little girl had a very bad quarter of an hour while he was trying to discover the extent of the injury. Keep her quiet and time will show how much damage is done, was all he said in her hearing. But if she had known that he told Mrs. Peck he feared serious consequences, she would not have wondered why her mother cried as she rubbed the numb limbs and placed the pillows so tenderly. Spinal cord injury. Numb limbs. Sometimes it's compression of the nerves and it will alleviate. Sometimes it doesn't. Look before you leap and save your bones, obviously, definitely. Keep her quiet and time will show. Oh, no, we read that, but Jill suffered most in her mind, for only a sharp stab of pain now and then reminded her of her body, but her remorseful little soul gave her no peace for thinking of Jack, whose bruises and breakages her lively fancy painted in the darkest colours. Oh, don't be good to me, Mammy. I made him go and now he's hurt dreadfully and may die, and it's all my fault, and everybody ought to hate me, sobbed poor Jill as a neighbour left the room after reporting in a minute manner how Jack screamed when his leg was set and how Frank was found white as a sheet with his head under the pump, while Gus restored the tone of his friend's nerves by pumping as if the house was on fire. So Frank was feeling fairly faint, obviously. Boys can be really brave. I mean, girls can be too, but back in the day, boys were nurtured to be in such a way that they were grit your teeth and bear it type brave. And when you first get a really intense exposure to serious injury that involves life, limb, blood, serious amounts of blood, breakages, pain so much that someone who normally is well controlled is screaming, yeah, that does not do a lot for your sense of, I can cope with this. So he would have been feeling rather. I'm just going to interrupt and ask PJ if he would mind making me a coffee. Thank you very much. Because downstairs to make one for me. So yes, thank you. Because I didn't make one, and I also didn't have any lunch because I haven't had breakfast because I was talking to your sister. Coffee boys arrived! Yay! Pre-coffee. It'll be even more yay in a few minutes. Yes, I feel like there needs to be a t-shirt with Coffee Boy's head coming in from the side. Shu says, hi, PJ. Sorry, who? Starmancer Shu. All right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. You were saying? What were you saying? Oh, I said a t-shirt.
I should make myself a singlet that has Coffee Boy.
Yes, yes. Actually, we write these down as very specific merch things. Coffee Boy.
Or a name tag.
Yeah. Singlet. Or name tag. And also Coffee Boy tea. Sideways. And yes, I do need to have a redeem that where it comes in from the side. Captions call me stomach issue. Starmancer. Starmancer. That's a little bit closer. Shu. Shu. No, it will not do it for me. It doesn't recognize the word. I'm sorry. You need a t-shirt. Goriki's doing t-shirts with words on at the moment. Oh dear. I'm sorry. My nose is itchy. I just need to get this out of the way. Here we go. Nah, I'm good. Not wanting stomach a shoe on a t-shirt. We'll get on with that. Don't forget to watch the clip from last time. A load of bullshit. Oh, it's got one of the words right this time. Yeah, she is a good sport. Most of the people who hang out here end up being good sports, even if they don't quite know what to expect when they first arrive. Right, now, whist, my lass, and go to sleep. Take a sup of the good wine Mrs. Minot sent for you. For you are as cold as a clod. That means a lump of dirt with grass on it, or just a lump of dirt. And it breaks my heart to see my Janie so. Thank you for the clip posting. That's cool. Whisht. It says whist, but it's actually whisht. Whoosh. Sort of thing. I can't go to sleep. I don't see how Jack's... Oh, yeah, that thing. Take a sup of the good wine that Mrs. Minot sent. Back in the day, yeah, alcohol in the form of wine or something like that was considered restorative or calming, and a small quantity would be given to those who are underage. Unlike now. Right. Itchy. I don't know why. I can't go to sleep. I don't see how Jack's mother could send me anything when I've half killed him. I want to be cold and ache and have horrid things done to me. So she's feeling really, 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 really guilty about this. It's all her fault, and she feels she needs to be punished. And since she can't be punished by anybody else because no one's willing to do it, she wants to be punished by the pain and suffering she's going through. Because that was a thing, and it still is for some people. Sometimes it's a habit, a thinking habit that they will use.
A thinking habit, not a nun's habit.
Not a nun's habit. And sometimes it's a way of just sort of staying in control of people's responses to you. In hers, it's not that. So let's carry on. I want to be cold and ache and have horrid things done to me. Oh, if I ever get out of this bed, I'll be the best girl in the world to pay for this. See if I ain't. And Jill gave such a decided nod that her tears flew all about the pillow like a shower. I think that means a shake. I think the words nod and shake were used differently when it came to what you do with your head to give assent or disagreement. So this is a shake. You shake your head to say no, and this is a nod to say yes. And we've had this with some of the older books where they've said that someone has nodded dissent, and it's like, no, that's a shake. Nodding is for agreement. Anyway, in Western countries, there are some countries where it's the opposite. Yeah. Her tears flew all over the place because she was shaking her head so hard. You'd better begin at once, for you won't get out of that bed for a long while, I'm afraid, my lamb, sighed her mother, unable to conceal the anxiety that lay so heavy on her heart. Am I hurt badly, mammy? I fear it, lass, said mother. Sorry? Regular, thanks. I'm glad of it. I ought to be worse than Jack, and I hope I am. I'll bear it well and be good right away. Sing, mammy, and I'll try to go to sleep to please you. Jill shut her eyes with a sudden and unusual meekness, and before her mother had crooned half a dozen verses of an old ballad, the little black head lay still upon the pillow, and repentant Jill was fast asleep with a red mitten in her hand, one of Jack's mittens. Mrs. Peck was an Englishwoman who had left Montreal at the death of her husband, a French Canadian, hence the French surname, and had come to live in the tiny cottage which stood near Mrs. Minot's big house. separated only by an arbor vitae hedge. Arbor vitae hedge is. Arbor vitae is probably a particular plant. And yes, I am going to look that one up. What is arbor vitae? It's an evergreen conifer grown as a privacy screen. Tree of life in Latin. Yeah. It looks like one of the it looks like something, yeah, it's a type of tree. It looks like something that's related to macrocarpa and those other styles of conifers. Tree. Thuja occidentalis, also known as northern white cedar, eastern white cedar, or arbor vitae, is an evergreen coniferous tree in the cypress family, which is native to eastern Canada and much of the north central and northeastern United States. Widely cultivated as an ornamental plant, not confused with Juniperus virginiana, eastern red cedar. There you go, it's white cedar. Now you know all about it. Come to Jev's to learn all about different sorts of botany. Right, so it's the hedge between the houses. A sad, silent person who had seen better days but said nothing about them and earned her bread by sewing, nursing, working in the factory, or anything that came in her way, being anxious to educate her little girl. So this is the mother. Now, as she sat beside the bed in the small, poor room, that hope almost died within her, for here was the child laid up for months, probably, and the one ambition and pleasure of the solitary woman's life was to see Janie Peck's name over all the high marks in the school reports she proudly brought home. She's going to be doing schoolwork from home. She'll win, though, please heaven, and I'll see my lass a gentlewoman yet, thanks to the good friend in yonder, who will never let her want for care. Though thought the poor soul, looking out into the gloom, where a long ray of light streamed from the great house, warm and comfortable, upon the cottage, like the spirit of kindness which made the inmates friends and neighbours. Meantime, that other mother sat by her boy's bed as anxious, but with better hope, for Mrs. Minot made trouble sweet and helpful by the way in which she bore it, and her boys were learning of her how to find silver linings to the clouds that must come into the bluest skies. Jack lay wide awake with hot cheeks and throbbing head and all sorts of odd sensations in the broken leg. Yeah, because your nerves have all been really disrupted with all that sort of breakage. The soothing potion he had taken did not affect him yet, and he tried to beguile the weary time by wondering who came and went below. Gentle rings at the front door and mysterious tappings at the back had been going on all the evening, for the report of the accident had grown astonishingly in its travels, and at 8 o'clock the general belief was that Jack had broken both legs, fractured his skull, and lay at the point of death. That whispers game. And while Jill had dislocated one shoulder and was bruised black and blue from top to toe. Such being the case, it is in no wonder that anxious playmates and neighbours haunted the doorsteps of the two houses, and that offers of help poured in. Frank, having tied up the bell and put a notice in the lighted side window saying, "Go to the back door," sat in the parlour, supported by his chum Gus, while Ed played softly on the piano, hoping to lull Jack to sleep. So tying up the bell and putting a notice up was actually also what some people would do when there had been a death in the family, so you wouldn't get this loud, incessant noise when people were ringing the bell and disrupting. When people are grieving, where they just want quiet and to feel the sadness because they need to work through it. You can't escape it. You have to work through it. While Ed played softly on the piano, hoping to lull Jack to sleep, it did soothe him, for a very sweet friendship existed between the tall youth and the lad of 13, So I'm not quite sure what age group she terms as a youth, but obviously not 13, somebody older. Lad of 13. Ed went with the big fellows, but always had a kind word for the smaller boys, and affectionate Jack, never ashamed to show his love, was often seen with his arm around Ed's shoulder as they sat together in the pleasant red parlours where all the young people were welcome, and Frank was king.
Coffee.
Thank you. I'm waiting for my coffee.
No. Sorry, I'm trying to...
Yes. I don't know what you expected me to do about it. And I'm trying to put it where it's not in the words.
Coffee, except... Shall we have some other coffee?
He's trying to do the whole forced perspective thing. Here, I'll put this over here.
And I'll put this over here.
So they're the same size. And now they're in line with each other. Both the same design, just one's a lot bigger than the other. Thank you so much.
The theory for that, it went far better in my head. The theory for that is you were going to hold your hand out and I was going
Next
to
time
put
I'll put
my
this one out.
coffee visually on it and then sort of
Go past it, yes.
lower it and go, hang on a minute, that's not quite right.
Yeah, that makes
It
sense.
works way better in my head.
Yeah, that's all right.
Anyway, have fun, everyone.
Bye. Thank you for the coffee.
Yeah.
Right, we shall carry on. Frank was king. Is the pain any easier, my darling? CJ says, see ya. Sorry, I hope you're not offended if I call you CD. I very commonly will nickname people's names in chat. It started because of just about saying a name that was really inappropriate in a family-friendly channel because the username was actually very inappropriate. And they were relying on people saying, welcome new follower so-and-so, and reading out the name and then embarrassing themselves. Thank you. Call me whatever. Cool. I appreciate that. So, yeah. So that's why one of our number who sometimes can be here and sometimes can't is called Q, because their name is Coleslaw, written with a Q. And when I very first saw it, I wasn't quite sure on the pronunciation. I thought it was coleslaw, but I wanted to check, so I just started by calling them Q. It was an easy way to then deal with, is this name what I think it is, or is it something different? Because I'm not always the fastest when it comes to reading stuff. I read lots. I love reading, but sometimes the connect between eyes seeing something and the brain translating it and then me saying something takes a little while. So this is why if you are ever sharing stuff with me online, like social media, Discord, things like that, and you think something's very funny and you shared it with me and I don't laugh straight away, don't be offended, just wait. I probably have to approach it again in a few hours' time for it to go click. And I'll probably think it's absolutely hilarious. But sometimes it's time of day. I've had people share things with me, and when I read it the first time, it's like, what on earth is, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. And then I read it the next morning, and it's so obvious and it's hilarious. My brain. It's just like that. It's very messy in there. It's just the way it is. Which is why we read kids' books, not literature. Let's carry on. Is the pain any easier, my darling? Asked Mrs. Minot, leaning over the pillow where the golden head lay quiet for a moment. Not much. I forget it listening to the music. Dear old Ed is playing all my favourite tunes, and it's very nice. I guess he feels pretty sorry about me. They all do. Frank could not talk of it. Gus wouldn't go home to tea, and he was so anxious to do something for us. Joe brought back the bits of your poor sled because he didn't like to leave them lying around for anyone to carry off, he said. And you might like them to remember your fall by. Remember it said that Joe had stayed there where the fence was broken and where the broken sled was? Yeah. That's what he was doing. He was rounding up all the pieces of sled that he could find. Jack tried to laugh, but it was rather a failure, though he managed to say cheerfully, "That was good of old Joe. I wouldn't lend him Thunderbolt for fear he'd hurt it. Couldn't have smashed it up better than I did, could he? Don't think I want any pieces to remind me of that fall. I just wish you'd seen us, Mother. It must have been a splendid spill to look at, anyway." "No, thank you. I'd rather not even try to imagine my precious boy going heels over head down that dreadful hill. No more pranks of that sort for some time, Jackie." And Mrs. Minot looked rather pleased on the whole to have her venturesome bird safe under her maternal wing. "No coasting till sometime in January. What a fool I was to do it. Go-bangs are always dangerous, and that's the fun of the thing. Oh dear." Jack threw his arms about and frowned darkly, but never said a word of the wilful little baggage who had led him into the mischief. He was too much of a gentleman to tell on a girl, though it cost him an effort to hold his tongue, because Mamma's good opinion was very precious to him, and he longed to explain. She knew all about it, however, for Jill had been carried into the house, reviling herself for the mishap, and even in the midst of her own anxiety for her boy, Mrs. Minot understood the state of the case without more words. So she now set his mind at rest by saying quietly, "Foolish fun, as you see, dear. Another time stand firm and help Jill to control her headstrong will. When you learn to yield less and she more, there will be no scrapes like this to try us all." "I'll remember, Mother. I hate not to be obliging, but I guess it would have saved us lots of trouble if I'd said no in the beginning. I tried to, but she would go. Poor Jill. I'll take better care of her next time. Is she very ill, Mamma?" "I can tell you better tomorrow. She does not suffer much, and we hope there is no great harm done." Usually those are the worst ones. "I wish she had a nice place like this to be sick in. It must be very poky in those little rooms," said Jack, as his eye roved about the large chamber where he lay, so cosy, warm, and pleasant, with the gay chintz curtains draping doors and windows, the rosy carpet, comfortable chairs, and a fire glowing in the grate. "I shall see that she suffers for nothing, so don't trouble your kind heart about her tonight, but try to sleep. That is what you need," answered his mother, wetting the bandage on his forehead and putting a cool hand on the flushed cheeks. So dampening a bandage actually helps if someone's running a fever, helps it the moisture from it evaporates, and so it helps to cool you down. So that's probably what she was doing with wetting it, because it did say he was running a bit of a fever. Jack obediently closed his eyes and listened while the boys sang the sweet by and by, softening their rough young voices for his sake, till the music was as soft as a lullaby. He lay so still his mother thought he was asleep, but presently a tear slipped out and rolled down the red cheek, wetting her hand as it passed. "My blessed boy, what is it?" she whispered with a touch and a tone that only mothers have. The blue eyes opened wide, and Jack's own sunshiny smile broke through the tears that filled them as he said with a sniff, "Everybody is so good to me, I can't help making a noodle of myself." "You're not a noodle," cried Mamma, resenting the epithet. "One of the sweet things about pain and sorrow is that they show us how well we are loved, how much kindness there is in the world, and how easily we can make others happy in the same way when they need help and sympathy. Don't forget that, little son." "Don't see how I can, with you to show me how nice it is. Kiss me good night, and then I'll be good, as Jill says." "I'll be good" is the bit that Jill says, because that's in extra quotation marks. Nestling his head upon his mother's arm, Jack lay quiet, till, lulled by the music of his mates, he drowsed away into the dreamless sleep, which is Nurse Nature's healthiest soothing syrup for weary souls and bodies, probably aided by the medication he was given for the pain, and to calm him. We'll carry on. Chapter 3, Ward Number 1. I don't have any recollection of this book at all. I have not diligently read through all of the Louisa May Alcott stories, the Little Women stories, but I have no awareness of this before finding it for reading today. So there you go. Have you read it before? Have you heard of it before? Do you know anything about it? If you have read it before or have memories of it, tell us when that was, how long ago, and the impressions you got from it. I don't mind if they're positive or negative, as long as you're not rude. Chapter 3, Ward Number 1. For some days nothing was seen and little was heard of the dear sufferers. Never heard of it, says Shrew. Yeah, I understand. As nothing was heard of the dear sufferers, as the old ladies called them, but they were not forgotten. The first words uttered when any of the young people met were, "How is Jack? Seen Jill yet?" And all waited with impatience for the moment when they could be admitted to their favourite mates, more than ever objects of interest now. Meantime, the captives spent the first few days in sleep, pain, and trying to accept the hard fact that school and play were done with for months perhaps. But young spirits are wonderfully elastic and soon cheer up, and healthy young bodies heal fast or easily adapt themselves to new conditions, which implies that some of them are not healing. So our invalids began to mend on the fourth day and to drive their nurses distracted with efforts to amuse them before the first week was over. The most successful attempt originated in Ward Number 1, as Mrs. Minot called Jack's apartment, and we will give our sympathising readers some idea of this place, which became the stage whereupon were enacted many varied and remarkable scenes. Each of the Minot boys had his own room, and there collected his own treasures and trophies, arranged to suit his convenience and taste. Frank's was full of books, maps, machinery, chemical messes, and geometrical drawings which adorned the walls like intricate cobwebs. A big chair where he read and studied with his heels higher than his head, a basket of apples for refreshment at all hours of the day or night, and an immense inkstand in which several pens were always apparently bathing their feet. They're meant to be dipped in when you use them, not left in it, were the principal ornaments of his scholastic retreat. Jack's hobby was athletic sports, for he was bent on having a strong and active body for his happy little soul to live and enjoy itself in. So a severe simplicity reigned in his apartment, in summer especially, for then his floor was bare, his windows were uncurtained, and the chairs uncushioned, the bed being as narrow and hard as Napoleon's. The only ornaments were dumbbells, whips, bats, rods, skates, boxing gloves, a big bath pan, and a small library consisting chiefly of books on games, horses, health, hunting, and travels. In winter his mother made things more comfortable by introducing rugs, curtains, and a fire. Jack also relented slightly in the severity of his training, occasionally indulging in the national buckwheat cake instead of the prescribed oatmeal porridge for breakfast. Oatmeal porridge? We just call it porridge. It's made with rolled oats. It's not actually oatmeal, it's rolled oats in British territories, I guess you'd call them. Oatmeal is where it's ground even finer and it's more sloppy. Yeah, from what I understand. Buckwheat cake. Why is it a national buckwheat cake? I don't know. We just call it oatmeal. Yeah. Porridge probably was used as a term a lot earlier in the States than more recently. I think it just dropped out with the use of the word oatmeal alone. Occasionally indulging in the national buckwheat cake instead of the prescribed oatmeal porridge for breakfast, omitting his cold bath when the thermometer was below 0, and dancing at night instead of running a given distance by day. Now, however, he was a helpless captive given over to all sorts of coddling, laziness and luxury, and there was a droll mixture of mirth and melancholy in his face as he lay trussed up in bed, watching the comforts which had suddenly robbed his room of its Spartan simplicity. A delicious couch was there, with Frank reposing in its depths, half hidden under several folios, which he was consulting for a history of the steam engine, the subject of his next composition. A white-covered table stood near with all manner of dainties set forth in a way to tempt the sternest principles. Vases of flowers bloomed on the chimney-piece. I would call that the mantelpiece, the shelf that's above the fireplace in front of where the chimney is. Gifts from anxious young ladies left with their love. That's what it references the vases full of flowers being. Frivolous storybooks and picture papers, comic books, strewed the bed, now shrouded in effeminate chintz curtains, beneath which Jack lay like a wounded warrior in his tent. The bed shrouded in effeminate chintz curtains. That means it's got posts around the bed to hang curtains on. Sometimes used in cooler climates or cooler seasons to keep the warmth that the person's own body produces in that smaller space. So the rest of the room can get cold with cold weather, but where you are sleeping stays a bit warmer. Beneath which Jack lay like a wounded warrior in his tent. But the saddest sight for our crippled athlete was a glimpse through a half-opened door at the beloved dumbbells, bats, balls, boxing gloves and snowshoes, all piled ignominiously away in the bath pan, mournfully recalling the fact that their day was over now, at least for some time. He was about to groan dismally when his eye fell on a sight which made him swallow the groan and cough instead, as if it choked him a little. The sight was his mother's face as she sat in a low chair, rolling bandages, with a basket beside her in which were piles of old linen, lint, plaster, and other matters needed for the dressing of wounds. As he looked, Jack remembered how steadily and tenderly she had stood by him all through the hard times just past, and how carefully she had bathed and dressed his wound each day, in spite of the effort it cost her to give him pain or even see him suffer. There's a better sort of strength than swinging 20-pound dumbbells or running races. I guess I'll try for that kind too, and not howl or let her see me squirm when the doctor hurts, unless the doctor needs to know that this pain, as part of his what he's checking up on. People sometimes don't realize that when they are suppressing pain responses when they're dealing with a medical professional. Do not hide that you're in pain if you're dealing with a medical professional, especially if it's specifically related to what you're seeing them for. They won't be able to help you if they don't know you're in pain. They won't be able to pinpoint what the problem is. Right. He saw the gentle face so pale and tired with much watching and anxiety, yet so sweet, so patient, serene and cheerful that it was like sunshine. Lie down and take a good nap, mother dear. I feel first-rate, and Frank can see to me if I want anything. Do now, he added with a persuasive nod toward the couch and a boyish relish in stirring up his lazy brother. After some urging, Mamma consented to go to her room for 40 winks, leaving Jack in the care of Frank, begging him to be as quiet as possible if the dear boy wished to sleep, and to amuse him if he did not. Being worn out, Mrs. Minot lengthened her 40 winks into a 3 hours nap, and as the dear boy scorned repose, Mr. Frank had his hands full while on guard. I'll read to you. Here's Watt, Arkwright, Fulton, and a lot of capital fellows, with pictures that will do your heart good. Have a bit, will you? Asked the new nurse, flapping the leaves invitingly, for Frank had a passion for such things, and drew steam engines all over his slate, as Tommy Traddles drew hosts of skeletons when low in his spirits. So, Watt, Arkwright, Fulton, and a lot of capital fellows are probably writing scientific papers about different machinery. Yeah, entertaining stories indeed. I don't want any of your old boilers and stokers and whirligigs. I'm tired of reading and want something regularly jolly, answered Jack, who had been chasing white buffaloes with the hunters of the West till he was a trifle tired and fractious, so he's reading a book about called The Hunters of the West. It's probably a real one, and I don't know who it's by. Play cribbage, euchre, anything you like, said Frank obligingly, disinterring himself from under the folios, feeling that it was hard for a fellow to lie flat for a whole week. So Cribbage and euchre are card games, I think. I don't play them, I don't know. Cribbage, I know, is the one where you have the little wee board with holes in it and you move the sticks along the holes, and I think that's your scorekeeping. It's the only bit I know about it, and I don't know how it works. I just know what they look like. No fun, just two of us. Wish school was over so the boys would come in. Doctor said I might see them now. They'll be along by and I'll hail them. Till then, what shall we do? I'm your man for anything, only put a name to it. So it sounds like Frank has time off too to help with the care at the moment. We haven't heard of their father. I don't know. We've only heard about Janie's father, that he died and he was French Canadian. I wish I had a telegraph or a telephone so I could talk to Jill. Wouldn't it be fun to pipe across and get an answer? I'll make either, you say. And Frank looked as if trifles of that sort were to be had for the asking. Could you really? Well, we'll start with the telegraph first, and then you can send things over if you like, said Frank, prudently proposing the surest experiment. Go ahead then, I'd like that, and so would Jill, for I know she wants to hear from me. There's one trouble, though. I shall have to leave you alone for a few minutes while I rig up the ropes. And Frank looked sober, for he was a faithful boy and did not want to desert his post. Oh, never mind, I don't want anything. If I do, I can pound for Anne. So he's probably got a stick or something handy where he can just go bang, bang, bang on the floor, or thump on the wall. And wake mother, I'll fix you a better way than that. And with Anne full of inventive genius, our young Edison spliced the poker to part of a fishing rod in a jiffy, making a long-handled hook which reached across the room. Except you got the leverage of the weight. That makes it a bit harder. There's an arm for you. Now hook away and see how it works, he said, handing over the instrument to Jack, who proceeded to show its unexpected capabilities by hooking the cloth off the table and attempting to get his handkerchief, catching Frank by the hair when fishing for a book, and breaking a pane of glass in trying to draw the curtain. It's so everlasting long I can't manage it, laughed Jack, as it finally caught in his bed hangings and nearly pulled them, ring and all, down upon his head. Let it alone unless you need something very much, and don't bother about the glass. It's just what we want for the telegraph wire or rope to go through. Keep still and I'll have the thing running in 10 minutes. And delighted with the job, Frank hurried away, leaving Jack to compose a message to send as soon as it was possible. What in the world is that flying across the Minot's yard? A brown hen or a boy's kite? Exclaimed old Miss Hopkins, peering out of her window at the singular performances going on in her opposite neighbour's garden. First, Frank appeared with a hatchet and chopped a clear space in the hedge between his own house and the cottage. Next, a clothesline was passed through this aperture and fastened somewhere on the other side. Lastly, a small covered basket slung on this rope was seen hitching along, drawn either way by a set of strings. Then, as if satisfied with his job, Frank retired, whistling Hail Columbia. It's those children at their pranks again. I thought broken bones would keep them out of mischief long, said the old lady, watching with great interest the mysterious basket travelling up and down the rope from the big house to the cottage. If she had seen what came and went over the wires of the Great International Telegraph, she would have laughed till her spectacles flew off her Roman nose. A letter from Jack with a large orange went first, explaining the new enterprise. Dear Jill, it's too bad you can't come over to see me. I'm pretty well, but awful tired of keeping still. I want to see you ever so much. Frank has fixed us a telegraph so we can write and send things. Won't it be jolly? I can't look out to see him do it, but when you pull your string, my little bell rings and I know a message is coming. I sent you an orange. Do you like Gorver jelly? Gorver, and it's italicized. People send in lots of goodies and we will go halves. Goodbye, Jack. Away went the basket, and in 15 minutes it came back from the cottage with nothing left in it but the orange. Hello, is she mad? Asked Jack, as Frank brought the dispatch for him to examine. So Jack can't run it himself. Frank is running it. But at the first touch, the hollow peel opened, and out fell a letter, 2 gumdrops, and an owl made of a peanut, with round eyes drawn at the end where the stem formed a funny beak. It's cute! A peanut owl. And putting them in the orange skin. That's a cute idea. Yeah, very cute. 2 bits of straw were the legs, and the face looked like Dr. Whiting, their doctor, Dr. Whiting, or Whiting, that both boys laughed at the sight. That's so like Jill. She'd make fun if she was half dead. Let's see what she says. And Jack read the little note, which showed a sad neglect of the spelling book. Dear Jackie, I can't stir and it's horrid. The telegraph, Tellyggraf, but it wasn't spoken to her. It was written down in Jack's letter so she could see it. If it was just spoken, I could accept that that was how she would write it. Unless she's just remembering Frank using the word. Oh my goodness, when he was setting it up. How very odd. The telegraph is very nice and we will have fun with it. I never ate any guava jelly. The orange was first rate. Send me a book to read, all about bears and ships and crocodiles. Crockydilles. The doctor was coming to see you, so I sent him the quickest way. Molly Lou says it is dreadful lonesome at school without us. Yours truly, Jill. Need more coffee. Yeah, exactly. Let's have another swig of coffee. Jack immediately dispatched the book and a sample of guava jelly. He wrote Gorver, Gorver, and so did she. And now the story is telling us guava, Guava. I'm hearing a helicopter overhead. That's sounding very close. Jack immediately dispatched a book and a sample of guava jelly, which unfortunately upset on the way, so to the great detriment of the wild beasts of Asia and groovy. So the sample has spilled over the book. To the great detriment of the wild beasts of Asia and Africa, Jill promptly responded with the loan of a tiny black kitten, who emerged spitting and scratching to Jack's great delight, and he was cudgelling his brains as to how a fat white rabbit could be transported when a shrill whistle from without saved Jill from the inconvenient offering. It's the fellows. Do you want to see them? Asked Frank, gazing down with calm superiority upon the 3 eager faces which looked up at him. Guess I do, and Jack promptly threw the kitten overboard, scorning to be seen by any manly eye, amusing himself with such girlish toys. It's just a kitten, it's in the house. It happens to have attached itself to me. Bang went the front door. Tramp, tramp, tramp came 6 booted feet up the stairs, and as Frank threw wide the door, 3 large beings paused on the threshold to deliver the courteous hello, which is the established greeting among boys on all social occasions. Come along, old fellows, I'm ever so glad to see you, cried the invalid with such energetic demonstrations of the arms that he looked as if about to fly or crow like an excited young cockerel. How are you, Major? Does the leg ache much, Jack? Mr. Phipps said you'll have to pay for the new rails in the fence. Must have been Mr. Phipps's fence. With these characteristic greetings, the gentlemen cast away their hats and sat down, all grinning cheerfully, and all with eyes irresistibly fixed upon the dainties, which proved too much for the politeness of ever-hungry boys. Excuse me, I need to cough. I'm just going to mute for a minute. I think that's better. Right, let's carry on. their eyes irresistibly fixed upon the dainties, which proved too much for the politeness of ever-hungry boys. "Help yourselves," said Jack with a hospitable wave. "All the dear old ladies in town have been sending in nice things. I hope they've been sending them to Jill too, not just the son of the rich family. Sending nice things, and I can't begin to eat them up. Lend a hand and clear away this lot, or we shall have to throw them out of the window. Bring on the doughnuts and the tarts and the shaky stuff in the entry closet, Frank. Let's have a lark." No sooner said than done. Shaky stuff will be jelly. Gus took the tarts, Joe the doughnuts, Ed the jelly, and Frank suggested spoons all round for the Italian cream. A few trifles. Italian cream. There's a word or a phrase I'm trying to remember, which is maybe it. It's frothy on the top and it's got more jellied for the base. Blancmange, maybe? I don't know. I don't know what they mean by Italian cream, but some sort of luxury dessert thing that's, yeah, supposedly to them very foreign. To call it Italian. A few trifles in the way of trifling things, smaller things, in the way of custard, fruit and wafer biscuits were not worth mentioning, but each dish was soon emptied, and Jack said, as he surveyed the scene of devastation with great satisfaction, "Call again tomorrow, gentlemen, and we will have another bout. Free lunches at 5 p.m. till further notice. Now tell me all the news." For half an hour 5 tongues went like mill clappers, and there is no knowing when they would have stopped if the little bell had not suddenly rung with a violence that made them jump. "That's Jill. See what she wants, Frank." And while his brother sent off the basket, Jack told about the new invention and invited his mates to examine and admire. They did so and shouted with merriment when the next dispatch from Jill arrived, a pasteboard jumping jack, with one leg done up in cotton wool to preserve the likeness of Jack, and a great lump of molasses candy in brown paper with the accompanying note. "Dear Sir, I saw the boys go in and know you are having a nice time, so I sent over the candy Molly Lou and Mary brought me. Mammy says I can't eat it and it will all melt away if I keep it. Also a picture of Jack Minot, who will dance on one leg and waggle the other and make you laugh. I wish I could come too. Don't you hate gruel? I do. In haste, JP." Gruel, she's spelt Grewel. It's Gruel normally. "Let's all send her a letter," proposed Jack, and out came pens, ink, paper, and the lamp, and everyone fell to scribbling. The lamp so they could see, I guess, because it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's winter. A droll collection was the result, for Frank drew a picture of the fatal fall with broken rails flying in every direction, Jack with his head swollen to the size of a balloon, and Jill in 2 pieces, while the various boys and girls were hit off with a sly skill that gave Gus legs like a stork, Molly Lou hair several yards long, and Boo a series of visible howls coming out of an immense mouth in the shape of O's. The oxen were particularly good, for their horns branched like those of the moose, and Mr. Grant had a patriarchal beard which waved in the breeze as he bore the wounded girl to a sled, very like a funeral pyre, the stakes being crowned with big mittens like torches. So he's caricatured everything. "You ought to be an artist. I never saw such a dabster as you are. That's the very moral of Joe. All in a bunch on the fence and with a blot to show how purple his nose was," said Gus, holding up the sketch for general criticism and admiration. "I'd rather have a red nose than legs like a grasshopper, so you needn't twit, Daddy," growled Joe, quite unconscious that a blot actually did adorn his nose as he laboured over a brief dispatch, writing a letter. The boys enjoyed the joke, and one after the other read out his message to the captive lady. "Dear Jill," each boy did, read their own. "Dear Jill, sorry you ain't here. Great fun. Jack pretty lively. Laura and Lot would send love if they knew of the chance. Fly round and get well. Gus. Dear Gillyflower, hope you are pretty comfortable in your dungeon cell. Would you like a serenade when the moon comes? Hope you will soon be up again, for we miss you very much. Shall be very happy to help in any way I can. Love to your mother, your true friend, E.D. Miss Peck. Dear Madam, I am happy to tell you that we are all well and hope you are the same. I gave Jim Cox a licking because he went to your desk. You had better send for your books. You won't have to pay for the sled or the fence. Jack says he will see to it. We have been having a spread over here. First-rate things. I wouldn't mind breaking a leg if I had such good grub and no chores to do. No more now. From yours, with esteem, Joseph P. Flint. Joe thought that an elegant epistle, having copied portions of it from the letter writer. That's a book, I guess, called The Letter Writer, and proudly read it off to the boys, who assured him that Jill would be much impressed. Now, Jack, hurry up and let us send the lot off before we must go, said Gus, as Frank put the letters in the basket, and the clatter of tea things was heard below. I'm not going to show mine. It's private, and you mustn't look, answered Jack, patting down an envelope with such care that no one had a chance to peep. But Joe had seen the little note copied, and while the others were at the window working the telegraph, he caught up the original, carelessly thrust by Jack, under the pillow, and read it aloud before anyone knew what it was about. Naughty boy. My dear, I wish I could send you some of my good times. As I can't, I send you much love, and I hope you will try and be patient as I am going to, for it was our fault, and we must not make a fuss now. Ain't mother's sweet? Mine is coming over tomorrow to see you and tell me how you are. This round thing is a kiss for good night. Your Jack. Isn't that spoony? Said Joe. You'd better hide your face, I think. He's getting to be a regular mollycoddle, isn't he? Jeered Joe, as the boys laughed and then grew sober, seeing Jack's head buried in the bedclothes after sending a pillow at his tormentor. It nearly hit Mrs. Minot, coming in with her patient's tea on a tray, and at the sight of her the guests hurriedly took leave, Joe nearly tumbling down stairs to escape from Frank, who would have followed if his mother had not said quickly, "Stay and tell me what is the matter." "Only teasing Jack a bit. Don't be mad, old boy. Joe didn't mean any harm, and it was rather soft now, wasn't it?" asked Frank. Oh, so this is Frank explaining to Mother, trying to appease the wounded feelings of his brother. "I charged you not to worry him. Those boys were too much for the poor dear, and I ought not to have left him," said Mamma, as she vainly endeavoured to find and caress the yellow head, burrowed so far out of sight that nothing but one red ear was visible. "He liked it, and we got on capitally till Joe roughed him about Jill. Ah, Joe's getting it now. I thought Gus and Ed would do that little job for me," added Frank, running to the window as the sound of stifled cries and laughter reached him. The red ear heard also, and Jack popped up his head to ask with interest, "What are they doing to him?" "Rolling him in the snow, and he's howling like fun. Serves him right," muttered Jack, with a frown. Then, as a wail arose, suggestive of an unpleasant mixture of snow in the mouth and thumps on the back, he burst out laughing and said good-naturedly, "Go and stop them, Frank. I won't mind. Only tell him it was a mean trick. Hurry. Gus is so strong he doesn't know his pounding hurts." Off ran Frank, and Jack told his wrongs to his mother. She sympathized heartily, and saw no harm in the affectionate little note, which would please Jill and help her to bear her trials patiently. "It isn't silly to be fond of her, is it? She's so nice and funny and tries to be good and likes me, and I won't be ashamed of my friends if folks do laugh," protested Jack with a rap of his teaspoon. "No, dear, it is quite kind and proper, and I'd rather have you play with a merry little girl than with rough boys till you are big enough to hold your own." "Because some of these are the bigger boys," answered Mamma, putting the cup to his lips that the reclining lad might take his broma without spilling. "That would be like beef tea or something like that, I guess. Nourishing." "Puh, I don't mean that. I'm strong enough now to take care of myself," cried Jack stoutly. "I can thrash Joe any day if I like. Just look at my arm. There's muscle for you, because he's the fit one, remember." And up went a sleeve, to the great danger of overturning the tray as the boy proudly displayed his biceps and expanded his chest, both of which were very fine for a lad of his years. "If I'd been on my legs, he wouldn't have dared to insult me, and it was cowardly to hit a fellow when he was down." Mrs. Minot wanted to laugh at Jack's indignation, but the bell rang, and she had to go and pull in the basket, much amused at the new game, the sending the messages. Burning to distinguish herself in the eyes of the big boys, Jill had sent over a tall red flannel nightcap, which she had been making for some proposed Christmas plays, and added the following verse, for she was considered a gifted rhymester at the game parties. When it comes night, we put out the light, some blow with a puff, some turn down and snuff, but neat folks prefer a nice extinguisher, so here I send you back one to put on Mr. Jack. Now I call that regularly smart. Not one of us could do it, and I wish Joe were here to see it. I want to send once more. Something good for tea. She hates gruel so. And the last dispatch which the great international telegraph carried that day was a baked apple and a warm muffin, with J.M.'s best regards. And that's the end of the chapter, and we've only 5 minutes until 3 o'clock. So that's the end of today's reading, because there's 19 pages in the next chapter, and I can't put that in 5 minutes, even if I read really fast. And I know I can read really fast, but no, that's not going to work. So there you go. Here's our first introduction to Jack and Jill, A Village Story by Louisa May Alcott. I put L.M. Alcott because that was the way it was written somewhere. I don't know where. Usually she's written as Louisa May Alcott, and the other one is L.M. Montgomery, who is the Canadian. Very nice. Thank you, says CD. Thank you so much. I do really appreciate you being here and enjoying this with us. Lovely to see you again. Now, just a wee tip and a reminder for anyone who's here, you are most welcome to encourage any of your friends who you think would enjoy listening to random chit-chat from this random, as well as old stories. They're all books written for not adults, unless it's a season like Halloween or Christmas, in which case I'll read books written for adults. But they're all public domain. They're all ones that are written for kids and teenagers, although they didn't call them that at the time. My time has freed up. I should be here more often. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. It's lovely to have you here too, by the way. And thank you also for getting involved with chat. We are very, very strong on making sure that this remains not just a socially safe place for people, i.e. they can come here and not have to be stressed by the various things going on in the world, but also a digitally and technically safe space. So we're very sharp on banning bots, putting mod notes on suspicious users who sit in chat who never ever interact, and then researching the hang out of them to find out who they are and what they're doing, some of which do end up getting banned at some stage in the future. Mod notes are shared between moderators and me. For anyone who needs to, who is a moderator, that's how we function around here. We share that information with each other so we can see what's going on. If you are a viewer, you may not know that your username, when it's clicked on by a moderator or a streamer, can be seen as a card, a little pop-up that actually has your username and your profile picture and that sort of stuff, and then it will show what chats you've made in the chat. Hang on, I'm just going to check to see what else is on there, because I can't remember at the moment. What messages you've sent, what mod actions have happened, and also if the mods have made any comments. So generally speaking, people who are reasonable and will chat from time to time, they don't usually have any mod notes on them unless they're put on in the early days, where somebody who knows them and knows they're a safe person will put a note on the mod card so that the other people who have moderating privileges know that even if the person hasn't yet spoken in chat, that they are a safe person. They don't need to be keeping as strong an eye on them or even considering banning them. Yes, people do get banned. We don't generally have to do any banning actively in chat, which is really good. It's a sign of having good security settings for a streamer having good security settings. And because I want this to be a family-friendly, safe space, those who are scared of the internet actually learn that you can use the internet and it doesn't have to be quite so scary because things can be set in place, they feel safe and happy to be here. It's worth actually looking at this Mod Learn video here, and also there are two ones that are sequential to that one, part 2 and part 3, to find out more about that. Some of the information is a little bit old, but it does build on it and all that sort of stuff. No, you have not been bad. You're still chatting here, so you haven't been bad, and you can see what's going on, because if you've been banned, you won't be able to see the videos. Joltier, great to see you. Yes, sadly you missed the stream, but lovely to have you here, and thank you for saying hi. Looking forward to listening to the VOD. Good, that's lovely to hear too. I do know that people do watch my VODs, and it's not all just Twitch bots that add up to the VOD numbers, because some of the numbers that streamers get for how many views a VOD has are actually bot numbers. They're not real genuine people, but I do know that real people watch them because people will sometimes reference them. So it's been lots of fun actually discovering a new story by Louisa May Alcott that I had not heard of before. I don't know if anyone else has. I know that Shu hadn't heard of it before, and I'm off to do a little bit of research, I think, and also see about doing the extras to the artwork so that the book cover can stand out and things like that. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It's lovely to have you here. Don't forget that if you follow Twitch and turn on the notifications, Twitch will tell you, if you have Twitch open, it will tell you when I'm live. And yeah, come back again. We'll read some more of this next time. What's today? Today's Monday, so it should be, unless something happens, should be here again in 2 days' time. It's Monday for me at the moment, so on my Wednesday, if you look at my schedule, which is right here, then, yes, I did get the typing right, good. It'll show you in your time zone, unless you are using a VPN that locates you somewhere other than where you are, in which case you're going to have to work that one out for yourself or turn off the VPN. So thank you so much for being here. See you all next time. Stay hydrated and be kind to your brain.